I'm going to talk a little bit about the process that I went through for Standard 2H with our IRB process. The big problem I looked at with this was this idea of technology integration in the classroom, looking at the difference between bringing your own device to school and one-to-one technology. I did my internship and my first year of teaching in schools with one-to-one technology, and now I'm at a school with a bring your own device policy. And it was really interesting to see the level of technology integration between the two schools and how the technology is being used. And I was really curious, is one way better than the other? And so that kind of directed my research into seeing what kind of depth of knowledge we can get into with this technology integration between bring your own device and one-to-one technology. So the research, I started looking at urban high schools and how their students' attitudes about technology and they're using their personal devices and what sort of things they were using them for. For the most part, these personal devices were being used to look up words and using calculators, just your general reference tool. And the goal of this particular study that I looked at was to look at students' attitudes and try to develop best practices for encouraging those, responsible use in the classroom. The second idea was looking at the impact of one-to-one technology. Now, they do show an increase in student engagement when it's one-to-one technology, but there's also disagreement about whether or not that's beneficial because it increases discipline problem. No other studies say it increases discipline problem. So there's disagreement about whether or not it's actually better. And finally, I looked at this intersection between how it's actually being used in the classroom. And one thing that I found was this this depth of knowledge chart, and this looks at how technology can be used to really get into those larger DOK levels and different strategies that we use, whether they're teacher directed or student directed. And for my research, I wanted to use this as the basis of coming up with some questions with a Likert scale and looking at how these are being used in schools with bring your own device policies. Are they able to have this level of technology integration that schools with one-to-one technology can achieve? And that was really interesting, is just kind of look at this and how we can, especially in rural southern schools, where rural schools, especially the one where I teach at, don't have the same level of access to technology. Many of my students don't have cell phones because there's no cell service where they live. There's places here where there's no internet because there's just no internet service provider. And we have students who can't afford phones. So being able to bring your own device, really, I want to look at how well students are able to bring those devices and how functional they are, and are teachers really doing as much with those personal devices as they can do with the other technology when it's one-to-one. And so we were, again, specifically focusing on rural schools. And in the future, I really want to look at this because I want schools to see that bring your own device policies, to ask that question, is this really the best use of student technology? Is this the best practice for bridging that digital divide? Is this getting us the same level of technology integration for teaching technology standards? Does this do the same thing as providing one-to-one technology? So we really need to look at how bring your own device policies compare to one-to-one policies in achieving students' learning and how it impacts all of that.